Come on, Bullet. Let's go find this kid.
Welcome YouTube, I'm the Dark Protagonist, and here's your review for the Blair Witch. This game is a lot better than it has any right to be. When I first heard about this, I was expecting a jump scare fest, and while I wasn't disappointed, it's so much more than that. My reviews are based off the first 4-hour sit-down I have of the game. In this case, I was able to get through the entire game. The story centers around an ex-military man named Ellis and his faithful companion Bullet, as they search for the latest victim of the Blair Witch, a small child. The story takes place sometime after the first movie and before the other two movies. It's largely its own story and its own self-contained narrative. You don't really need to know much about the Blair Witch in order to enjoy this, and honestly, it's probably the best story in the Blair Witch universe. It deals with guilt, anger, PTSD, and all sorts of other mental issues. It quickly becomes apparent that no one wants Ellis out in these woods looking for this kid, but he feels obligated for reasons that become clear towards the end. Part of what makes the story so great is the excellent presentation that Bloomer team makes in this game. For example, I knew Ellis was an ex-military member pretty much at the start of the game because he had his dog tags hanging from his rearview window, and when I needed to call his significant other, I had to flip through the VA on his contacts list to get to his girlfriend. So later on in the story, when those facts became relevant to what was going on, I knew that information without ever having to be directly told or really remembering that I knew that about Ellis. And these sort of presentation tricks are throughout this game, from the beginning to the end.
Listen, I'm almost there. I'll call you later, okay?
All right. Just be careful.
This game's strength doesn't lie in its gameplay, however, its gameplay is actually pretty engaging and interesting. You're never really doing anything all that exciting, but you're constantly doing different things. For example, one early section in the game has you shining bright lights at monsters that you can barely see off screen, and if you don't get the light on them, they'll come and kill you. You also feel like you're lost a lot of the time wandering the woods. However, you're never really actually lost, and you always kind of find something new and interesting along the way as you're going. Bullet helps a lot with this because he'll kind of point you where you need to go. So the game does a good job of making you feel uncomfortable because you're like, am I supposed to be here? Am I supposed to be doing this yet? None of the gameplay sections really would hold up on their own. However, with the presentation around them and how they interact with the story, they serve the purpose of making you engaged in the story more so than giving you like a challenge or a game to play, right? So like there's not really a great puzzle, there's not really a great action sequence. However, the ones that are there are fantastic because they blend well and mesh well with the story. The one great exception, and I wish I could talk about it, is towards the end. The final encounters are probably the tensest, most exciting gameplay I've had in a horror game in a very, very long time. They are brilliant and well done. I don't think this comes as much a surprise, but I highly, highly recommend this game. There's only two caveats. One, it's a little short, it's 4 hours long, and while I think there's multiple endings, there doesn't appear to be much difference in playthroughs. The other big caveat is if you're looking for a gameplay focused game, this isn't it. This is very much a story driven experience, and while the gameplay enforces the story, it's not something that you would probably want to play over and over again. I do plan on playing this again. I enjoyed it that much, and the story was that great. Also, it is very scary. There are a lot of jump scares, and the story is significantly creepy. It is much scarier than any of the Blair Witch movies. If you enjoyed this review and want me to review something else, stop by my Twitch at 8 p.m. on Fridays, and you can suggest something for me to play, and I will likely play it.
Shit. Whoa! Oh my god.